All right, so we've talked about accessing data out of an object or retrieving information, but what about adding new information or updating information? So let's say that I have a new object. I'm a teacher and I have a classroom of students, and we have, midterms. We just took midterms. So I'm going to make an object called midterms, and I want to keep track of the scores for my individual students on the midterm test. So let's say I just have a couple of students. Let's go with, Danielle, and her grade, let's see, do we want to do numbers? Yeah, let's just use numbers. So she got a 96 out of 100. And then I'll add in, how about Thomas, who got a 78. Okay, so let's start there. We look at midterms, 2 properties in there. Remember, these keys are turned into strings. Normally, this is not valid in JavaScript, but inside of an object, this is totally fine. But on their own, right, if I just type Danielle like that, it thinks, or JavaScript thinks, I'm talking about a variable or some identifier that does not exist. But inside of this object, it's turned into a string. Okay, so if I want to update one of these things, let's say I want to change Thomas's score. I was wrong. It's actually a 79. I can do this, midterms, and then dot Thomas, or square brackets Thomas with quotes, but I like to use the dot notation whenever I can. It's just shorter, but remember there's a distinction. The square bracket notation allows you to do more. We can evaluate something before you access using that key. Anyway, midterms.thomas equals 79, and that's it. So midterms.thomas is 78. I can change it. It's now equals 79. So just like with an array, when we use the keyword const to declare an object variable, the container, in this case the object itself, needs to stay the same. But the insides can be swapped. We can remove things. We can add new properties. We can update properties. No problem. So I just set Thomas to be 79. If we look at midterms now, midterms, Thomas is indeed 79. I can also, change it to be a string if I wanted to. I could go through and say, actually, I want to do it this way. Midterms, I want letter grades. So that will be a C+, at least in the US grading scale or whatever you want to call it. And then let's do Danielle. This time I'll do the other syntax just for more practice. So she has a 96. Is that an A or an A+? I think it's just an A. I think A+ is 98. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So now we've updated those two. And if I want to add something else in, all I have to do is use the exact same syntax. And that's it, actually. It's just the same syntax. So let's do midterms of, and who's our next person? Thomas, Danielle, how about Ezra? And set that equal to something. It's not in there at the moment. It's totally undefined. Totally undefined. It's undefined. And then I can set it to be, how about Ezra gets a B+. And I can do midterms of, let's add one more person. Let's do square brackets this time. How about Antonio? And Antonio got a A-, sure. Just like that right there. All right, so we use that syntax, both options, square brackets with quotes or some expression in here, or the dot syntax to access values as well as update or create new properties in there. So we added in Antonio and Ezra, we updated Danielle and Thomas, same exact process. We do this all the time. So it's just like updating an array, except we're not using a number. You can you can think of arrays as objects where the keys are numbers. So we still have a key value pair, but we're associating the position, so whatever we have here, with 0. That's the key. 0, the value is ASD, ASD. And then the key is 1, and the value is ASD, ASD. But here we're using people's names as the key, and then the value is a letter grade. All right, so this basic syntax is something we'll see all the time. Key value pairs, use the dot syntax, use the square brackets, and then assign a new value. We're just updating something in this object.